This is the first in a series of video clips that we're going to make on automating outcomes for logic model recording in the service delivery form. First off, note that there's a drop-down list on the service details page for each service delivery record that's labeled logic model goal with the blue label, and we see that there's no contents there. We also see the blue label indicates that you can click on it and something will happen in most cases. So if we click on it, we see that it switches over to the ROMA/IFPA goal, and again the contents may or may not be filled in. The contents in this case, when it's in this state, are from the plans form in CSSD, which is an older means of tracking outcomes and outcome related information that very few of our CSSD customers are using these days. So in general, I think that most CSSD users will want to toggle this back to the logic model goals, which is the more recent and more universally used by virtue of having been adopted by several U.S. government agencies. The ability to toggle that back and forth, and the ability to determine which one of those two, either the logic model goal or the ROMA/IFPA goal, comes up as the default when you start up the form, is determined by two system constant settings. So let's take a look at those. If we go to Administration, Category Codes, we want constant in the drop-down list, and then we want to click on the word code to put this in order by the 6-letter code. And the first one we're interested in is SDLMSH. So we just type that in and it'll jump down to that code with incremental search, and we see the description, SDLMSH, and the description is Service Delivery Logic Model Show as the default condition. So with this set to true, then the default for that particular drop-down list label in the service delivery form will be the logic model goal. If it were set to false, then the ROMA/IFPA would be the default label. The other system constant setting that affects it is the very next one in the list, SDLMTG, and you see the description of service delivery logic model outcome display toggle allowed. And that is set to true, which gave us the ability to click on that blue label and switch it back and forth. If we set it to false, that will lock it into whatever the setting is that's determined by this SDLMSH constant. So let's choose this, set it to false, and we'll save it. And this is a setting that's picked up by the service delivery form when you start it up. So it won't have picked up that setting just by virtue of the fact that we changed the system constant. What we have to do is close the form and then go back and reopen it again. And then when we come back to this page, and you won't be able to see me click my mouse, but I'm clicking on logic model goal and nothing happens, which means that it is, by virtue of that system constant setting, it is now locked on logic model. Now the next thing that you have to consider is, what are the contents of this list? Well, the contents of that list are determined by whatever outcomes are associated with the logic models in turn that are associated with whatever program is associated with this particular service delivery record. This service delivery record as of right now doesn't have a program. That's determined by this associated program drop-down list down at the bottom of the left corner of the page. So in order to get anything to show up in this list, the first thing we have to do is choose a program. Well, Adult Daycare comes up right at the top. That's convenient, and I know that it has logic models attached to it, so I'll choose that. Now if you go back and look at the logic model goal drop-down, you see a whole series of outcome choices that are available to you there. Those are from all of the logic models that are attached to the adult daycare program, and there may be more than one. And given the number of choices that we have here, I would say that there's probably at least 2 different logic models associated with that program, and we're seeing the choice of all of the outcomes for each of those, assuming it is each of those 2 logic models. So we can choose one of those: target population, increase in socialization opportunities. Now, if I'm going to choose this to something else, and we're going to save this. If you have it set up correctly, you can make it so that when you have chosen this logic model goal, and the result in this results drop-down is one of a set of specified outcomes or results, if you want to refer to it that way, then the outcome will appear automatically over here on the outcomes page. We click over there and we see that that's not the case. So the way to set that up is, again, with a system constant setting that gives you the list of codes that are acceptable in the result field that will then result in the outcome being added automatically on the outcomes page. Let's go back and look at the system constants again. So administration category codes and then constant. And we'll put it in order here, and we want SDADGL is the one we're looking for. So SDADGL, service delivery, add logic model goals, and automatic outcome for these result codes. And the result codes are then listed in the constant value window. Now you don't have to memorize what those are. All you have to do is right click in the window here itself, and it will pull up this listing of the result codes, the codes that are available to you as results in that pick list, that results pick list on the service delivery form. And we see that we have chosen previously, and we can, you can double click things to move them back and forth here, but we don't want that one over there, so I'm going to move it back again, and we see that the three that we have selected are service completed, service ongoing, and service partially completed. When we say OK on this, the system will automatically put the 6-letter codes for those three choices in this window, and when you save that, we don't have to do that since it was previously set up, that becomes the effective choices. So now, if we come back to the result page and we choose one of those, service ongoing was one of the three, save it, then if you come to the outcomes page, you will see that the logic model associated with this goal and the outcome itself have been entered automatically. So the only thing that you have to keep in mind here is if your users choose not to come to this page, because it will have been done for them automatically, is that the date for both the logic model entry and the outcome entry will be today's date, meaning whatever day that all of this occurred. And that'll be either the day that the service delivery record was entered and the logic model goal was entered and so forth, or if the result code is changed later. If the result code initially is empty or does not have one of the results that will trigger the automatic activation of the addition of the outcome, and that's changed at a later date, then it will be that later date at which is added. When these records are actually added, that will be attached to these records, and that can be of importance in reporting. So keep that in mind.